Hi, Source Beings. The title of this video is going to be why it's important not to have a contradiction or inconsistency with our action and what we choose to believe, and why it creates conflict. So I think we have free will. Some people will agree, some people will disagree. It's your free will if you want. So either we choose our beliefs or our beliefs choose us. I'm gonna give you an example. Actually, first I'm gonna give you some thoughts, and then I'm gonna give you some examples. So I think our actions need to be in alignment with what we believe, or else we are basically living inauthentically. We're not honestly expressing ourselves. So let's say you're gonna go on this really hot date, right? You believe that or something. Now, if you believe that, why would you not prepare for it? Does that make sense? Well, why would you not go take a shower and get ready or whatever? Or I'll use another example, because I think beliefs can be tricky when it comes to dealing with other people. Okay, let's say you choose to believe somehow that you can control the weather, with your mind or something. I'm gonna go a little bit abstract here with the thinking. So let's say you can control the weather with your mind or something, and you're like, I choose for it to rain today. And that was your belief that you chose for the day, even though I don't know if you can control the weather. I mean, some people, I guess, believe they could if they danced or something. But so if I'm leaving for the morning and I forget to bring an umbrella, even though I know it's going to rain, aren't I living in conflict with what I choose to believe? Does that make sense? So I need to use some not real world examples, more practical earth realm examples, I guess. Let's see. Okay. Christians, I'm gonna call you guys out. Actually, I'm gonna call out quite a few different types of people here. A lot of Christians, they claim that Jesus is God. How many Christians actually follow Jesus or listen to a word he says? Oh, they're like, oh, we worship him. We're Christians. We worship Jesus, but they don't listen to a word he says. That they can't even recite a single verse of something that he said to do, because Jesus actually didn't really teach about following rules. He actually taught more about following the golden rule, and then just basically to have faith in God, and it's kind of, and just basically to love your enemies. Anyways, that's kind of not off topic, but that's besides the point. The point is, so this is why a lot of people don't like Christians, because they're hypocrites. Okay, even back then Jesus called the Jews hypocrites for what they were doing, because you can't claim to worship God, or let's say you have this idea that you believe everything is God, okay, and you're going around ungrateful or just unappreciative of the universe you're living in. So if everything is God, if you believe that, then why would you complain? You're just going to create conflict. You know what I mean? So there's a bunch of examples, and I'm guilty of it too. I worry quite a bit. There's something I'm trying to get better at. Better at not doing. I'm trying to just be more calm. So an example for my life would be, okay, since I believe in God, and I believe that God is love and loves me unconditionally, then why do I feel like I have to worry about tomorrow? Why do I feel like I have to worry so much? You see how that's a conflict of what I choose to believe and my actions, and even thinking can be an action. Body language can be an action. Just the way you live can be an action, is an action, right? Even thinking can be an action. So I think it's your birthright to decide your purpose, right? And your purpose is what dictates your beliefs, and what you choose to believe, what you do needs to be in alignment with what you believe, or else you're living in contradiction or inconsistency, and that's going to create internal conflict, which will create external conflict. I'm not saying you can escape all conflict in life. Maybe there's a way, but I don't know. To me, that like there's different types of conflicts, but so I think you actually create a lot of confusion and conflict if you decide to do an action that's inconsistent with what you believe. So like, I'm gonna give you an example. There's a lot of people on YouTube that are like, oh, we're infinite co-creator beings, right? Okay. I agree with you. However, then why do we need money? Why are we dependent on stuff? Why do we need to eat? Okay, well, because we have a physical body, and that's the way society works. And I guess you can go through a rabbit hole of questions, and this is how you can internalize and get to the conclusion of things about what you actually believe, and what you choose to believe, and what beliefs are choosing you, so to speak, right? For me, personally, if I was going to choose to believe something, it would be I would want to live in a world without money or rules, because I personally believe money and rules is for fools. It's for people who believe that they need to do something to get something, or not do something to get something, but it's kind of like karma, right? If I'm constantly like doing stuff for good karma, am I actually being a good person, or am I just doing it for my own gain? So it's inauthentic, right? Let's say I believe somebody's like psychic, right? So I have a conflict because, okay, well, if you're psychic, then why do I need to talk to you? Why do I need to speak? Does that make sense? Then the second I speak to you is the second I create conflict, because I'm contradicting my beliefs. So I think our right action is, well, first we need right believing, right? And first, it starts us off with right purpose. So what is the right purpose? Well, that's for you to decide. For me personally, my purpose is to just be loved by God or the universe unconditionally, and then give that love back into God, like breathing, right? You breathe in and out for free. And then I guess my chosen belief system would have to be in line with my purpose, right? So my beliefs would kind of like be like the sacred geometry built around my purpose in a way. And my purpose, and then you have your beliefs, and then you have your action, which follows beliefs, right? So, or your expression, right? So how you choose to express yourself, and that can be through action, it can be through thinking, it can be through body language, it can be through your choices, it can be through a lot of different things. So hold on, let's get back to what was I talking about? I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Oh yes, okay, so we have purpose, then we have beliefs, and then we have action. So those three need to be in line with each other, or else you're going to have conflict, because it's the law of integrity. You're not being honest with yourself. And there is one thing that we do have as humans, it's our birthright, and it's to decide our own purpose. If somebody decides that your purpose for you, then what are you? A machine, you can be a program machine. You can program a machine to do a purpose, right? We're more than machines, aren't we? Don't we get to like program ourselves, so to speak, or not even program ourselves? Just maybe, I don't know. Maybe we could even go beyond purpose, right? And just try to enjoy life. I don't know. There's a lot of different things. Okay, so there's it's kind of like. Personally, okay, let's say I'm going fishing. Now, if I let's say I believe I could just catch fish, like just without any bait, right? Well, first of all, I'd be lying to myself, because I don't actually believe that, because when I was a kid, I was raised to believe that fish need bait. You need to put bait on a hook, right? So if I go fishing and I expect to catch a fish without any bait, I mean, the probability or the possibility is there, but the probability is low, because it's not the truth, at least for me. That's not what you know what I mean? So that's another example. Like you're basically like, that's the difference between like knowledge and wisdom, is your actions. whether or not you put your actions behind your knowledge, or what knowledge that you've came to understand. So let's see. Okay, so there's people that are like, I'm enlightened, or I'm God, or and all this stuff. Okay, well then, here's 3 things that you shouldn't do. You shouldn't try to prove yourself, you shouldn't try to gain anything, and you shouldn't feel ashamed. So the opposite of that would be the opposite of proving yourself. Because if you're proving yourself, if you're trying to prove yourself, then you're not authentic with, like, why do you need to prove yourself to anybody? Does that make sense? If you actually believe in who you are, why do you need to prove it? Does that make sense? I don't need to prove anything to anybody. Okay, and then let's say you want to gain something. What would be the opposite of gaining? Giving, or not gaining, or letting go of? I don't know. And then what else? Shame. The opposite of shame would be innocence, right? Or actually, it would be grace, because shame brings guilt, and grace brings innocence. Does that make sense? And grace means unconditional love, essentially. So if I believe that God is love, and I am loved by God, and I'm going around feeling guilty, well, I'm living in conflict with what I believe, and I'm guilty of this, ironically, right? But it's something I'm working on. So basically, I guess you could say your quote-unquote desires, I don't like to use the word desire because it has like a negative connotation with me for some reason, because I think most of our desires are actually in the past. So like it's like a conflict of our beliefs. But what if we desire, like, our beliefs and our desires, aren't they kind of like the same thing if you really think about it? Because how can we believe something that we don't really know of? Like, does that make sense? So our beliefs and our desires are almost one and the same, right? When people defend their beliefs like it's their life. What else I want to talk about? It's potentiality. Well, there's potentiality. Okay, if you believe that there's potentiality for everything in the universe, like anything is possible, okay? If you believe that, right? With God, anything is possible. You think about it, we live in a big universe, essentially unlimited. We have so many planets, and there's probably a lot of different timelines that can curve into each other, essentially. And I think they curve into each other based off of your chosen belief system, right? So we are a universe within a multiverse of one universe, essentially, and what we choose to believe, or what we choose our purpose is who we choose to be, or what we choose to be. And then what we choose to be, then later comes the why and the how, or the when and the where. Honestly, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. I do, but I don't. Because even by making this video, it's almost like a living contradiction, right? So if I feel like, let's say I feel like I'm in heaven, why do I need to make a YouTube video? You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, and I'm gonna actually call some people out. So we have these guys on YouTube that are like talking about how the government, or the news, and the Matrix, the quote unquote, the evil Matrix, right? All they do is sell fear, and they're like, oh, you need to wake up from the Matrix before, it's too late, blah, blah, blah. And they're going around selling t-shirts. They're going around selling fear. They're basically like, don't take the vaccine, or like, and personally, I'm not going to comment on, I think you should listen to your doctor and your heart, so do what you want about that. And then, it's like, okay, personally, you say you're an infinite being and you have all these spiritual capabilities, but you're talking about little minute things, and you're talking about fear, right? So you're being a hypocrite. You're basically being what you said that you did not want to, or you're basically being what you criticize, and it makes no sense. You're like, they conflict, like they contradict themselves. They're inconsistent, and it kind of irks my nerve, because to me it seems like people are becoming brands rather than people. Like wherever you go now, you see a fucking advertisement, even on cars. Like people would fucking tattoo their body. They got money to do it and to advertise something, you know what I'm saying? So it's like people stop becoming people and people are starting to become brands. It's kind of sad. And honestly, I don't ever want to become a brand. What I want to do, I always want to do for free. And if in the future somehow I do become, I want you guys to hold this against me. If I do become more popular YouTuber, I don't want to do it for money. If I get free donations, I'll set up like a PayPal probably, but just to support my lifestyle. But even me spending money is almost a conflict. I feel very conflicted about spending money for some reason. That's something I need to work out within my own belief system, but I will not sell out, ever. And that's one of the reasons why I don't have a job. And also because I feel like it wasn't my purpose because of my life situations. And I'm still trying to discover that. And I think, that's, like I said in one of my older videos, it's called, Is Life a Question or an Answer? And, I think it's an eternal question, or it's a permanent question to a temporary answer. It's also a permanent answer to a temporary question. It could be one or both, or you could just be, there's so many different ways of being, right? Well, let me see here. Okay, another example would be, you believe that time is infinite, or that you're eternal, right? Personally, I believe who we are is eternal, and I believe our experiences are not. They're temporary. The experience itself is eternal, like we are the experiencer and the experience. However, the experience changes, but we don't change. As you know what I mean, deep down in our core, we don't change. Our experience changes. So if you're like, live every day like it's your last, or live every moment like it's your last, well, you know what? I say the opposite. Live every moment like it's your first. Why live it like it's your last? Live it like it's your first, because the first is last and the last is first, even with people. If you really believe the universe is infinite, then the first is last and the last is first. There is no end, there is no beginning. It just is, and we all just are. So I don't know. It's just, there's a lot of people, including myself, we live in contradiction with what we choose to believe. And this creates conflict. For example, personally, I believe that God if you believe in God and you pray for like a soulmate or something, he will, like, there is somebody out there for everybody, right? But then you're going around and just chasing tail all the time or whatever, right? And you're having all these different kind of relationships. Well, then you're living in conflict with yourself. How can you say that you have a soulmate and then go around sleeping with other people? Wouldn't you be technically cheating on your soulmate? You know what I mean? Like if you believe there's somebody out there for you already, then wouldn't you kind of want to just, I mean, I'm guilty of it. And some people don't believe in soulmates. Some people do. And I know sex can just be sex sometimes, but I don't know. To me, as I got older, I used to have a really bad problem with porn. And I used to objectify women a lot because of that. But there was a time I remember, and I'm trying to get back into that state of being. Where basically you look at women as like a soul or a spirit, and not as a object, not as a body, not as something to like eat. Well, I mean, I guess that's kind of funny, but not as something to consume, like not you know what I mean, like it's not something you can possess, like I gotta stop saying like so much, and I have to be more sure of myself. So okay, I don't even remember what I was talking about. Sorry, I get distracted sometimes. Oh yes, okay, so we have, or I don't even know why I brought that up. Why did I bring that up? Did I used to have a problem with porn? Oh yes, because I personally believe women are divine, just like men, and I believe that everybody has a soul, and we're not just our bodies. And so watching porn kind of destroyed an aspect of sexuality for me, because I always thought sex was about, how well you can perform. And the second you start thinking about your performance is the second you become quote unquote self-conscious. And I'm not talking about consciousness, I'm talking about self-conscious, as in like you start to become how I am right now, like criticizing yourself. You're like watching every step, like, or you're not freely expressing yourself. So it's like, how can you be free in a romantic relationship or while you're having a romance, so to speak, or a romantic connection in a very special moment, for example, like when you're making love or when you're dancing with each other? How can you actually feel fulfilled if you feel like it's work and not as something as an expression? If you like, I don't know how to explain it, because that's what porn taught me. Like, it's about the size, or it's about the how good you are. I mean, those things I think are like superficial, if that makes sense. I think when it really comes down to intimacy, I guess depending on what you choose to believe, right? Like, but I don't think it's about performance. I think naturally performance will come with freedom of expression. So it's like, have you ever seen somebody just dancing and you're like, wow, they're like super good, and they're not even like trying to think, they're just kind of like they're just free about it. They're not like they're not trying to perform. Basically, they're not trying to prove themselves to anybody. That's what it is. They're not trying to prove themselves. That's the part of proving yourself that I was saying. So yeah, you don't try to prove yourself. You don't try to really gain anything, and you don't complain, or not complain. You don't try to prove yourself. You don't try to gain anything, and you don't feel shame. And shame is something that I've been trying to deal with, honestly. And I've had a hard time dancing my whole life. Well, not my whole life, but my past life, or I could say just before. That's something I'm trying to work on. So yeah. So let me see. Okay, so I think you should just try to relax and be grateful. And one thing that irritates me is people, okay, do you believe God is a being, or do you believe God is a tool? And what's wrong with modern society is we start loving things and using people. I know it sounds so cliche, but it's so fucking true. I don't think God is a tool that we should just use. Like people say, like with the law of attraction, you know, you have to feel gratitude if you want more abundance. But isn't that kind of manipulative if you think about it? Like imagine if I only thanked you for something because I wanted more from you, and I didn't thank you because I was actually grateful. Does that make sense? So it's all about it. Honestly, I think it's a law of integrity. It's just about being authentic, and you can choose whoever you can choose what you want to be. But you got to be authentic about it. You got to really search your heart for who you are, or what your purpose is. And once you find it, your beliefs will line up, your actions will line up. Well, that's where the work comes in, right? It's kind of like working out. You got to build muscles. You got to build those neurological pathways, the muscle memory, etc. Okay, this video's gone on for a little bit too long. I don't have much data to upload from this phone, so I have to start keeping my videos shorter, and I might be posting less until I can get data on this phone, because if I use my free phone that I get, the camera's really bad. Not bad, it's just low resolution. So yeah, I'll probably be posting a little bit less often until I can figure out somewhere I can upload from. Maybe I should just like fucking go to McDonald's or something. I don't know. I think I'm gonna start posting maybe once or twice a week now. I wish I could do it more, but I can't afford it. Okay. I do not have a quote or video right now, but as the day goes on, I'll think of a quote in a video and I'll put it in the description below. And I think that's what I'm gonna start doing, rather than saying the quote in the video during the video, if that makes sense. I'd rather have a little bit of time to think about it and then put it in the description. For people that have been following with me a while, they'll understand, or just they'll get it after a while anyway. You know what I mean? Okay. All right, guys. God bless. And stay true to yourself. Make sure your actions are in alignment with what you believe, and what you believe is with your purpose, and you choose your purpose. It's your free will. We're not machines, okay? Don't be a hypocrite. All right, love to you guys. Bye. And girls. Bye-bye.